Hey guys, Sai from Crowdcast here, and I'm super excited to share with you some superpowers that's now available for your event. And I made a really quick presentation to show you exactly what those superpowers are. So, today, there are thousands of events happening on Crowdcast every month. And all those events, they range from little presentations to large-scale summits, things like workshops and interviews. They're all happening on Crowdcast. Now, all those events are happening in the browser, which is great because that means all the folks who are participating, they just click on one link and then they're in. And all the speakers, they just click on a link, they're also able to participate with just their camera and mic. But at the same time, we're also noticing we're limited by the browser. So the browser wasn't really designed for video, it was designed for text. And so, we've been asking ourselves, hey, what are some of the things we can do to give you more control over your live video? Now, while we've been thinking about this, we noticed that there has been an explosion of live streaming software. Now, this is software that connects directly into your hardware to control that live video feed, and that software can stream out to places like Facebook and Twitter. So, for example, things like Ecamm Live, OBS, Wirecast, Xsplit, Switcher Studios. You might have already used some of these, and while looking at them, we noticed that they allow you to do some pretty cool things. For example, you can add lower thirds and overlays. You can share pre-recorded content at any time during your event. You can connect them to your professional DSLR cameras. You can add intro and outro screens. Now, all these applications, I'm very excited to share with you that as of today, all of them can plug directly into Crowdcast, and we call it RTMP Studio. So what that means is all those superpowers that I mentioned, the ability to add lower thirds, the ability to connect to professional gear, share pre-recorded content, add intro and outro screens, all those superpowers are available for you in your Crowdcast event. And it doesn't stop there. There's a lot more. So you can also stream and record in HD. You can share your screen in HD, which means if you are sharing things like Photoshop or InDesign or applications that require a lot of detail, you're gonna love this. You can bring guests on screen still with RTMP Studio. So things like Ecamm Live and Wirecast give you ways to still have remote guests for your live shows. You can pull in reactions from social media. For example, you can use Xsplit to pull in tweets and comments happening from Facebook. There's even more superpowers. It plugs into professional, live editing tools. In this example here, it's a TriCaster that a lot of folks use for in-person events, which brings me to my next point. You can stream in-person events. So all the gear that professional AV producers use, Crowdcast can now directly integrate with. And this last one's kind of funny, but you can actually stream a Zoom meeting right in your Crowdcast. So for example, if you wanted more than 4 people up on screen, the Zoom lets you, I believe, have 20 folks. So you can have 10 to 20 folks all talking at the same time, all those speakers in the Zoom meeting, and you can have thousands of people tuning into that on Crowdcast. Now, what about multi-streams? Well, it just works. As the video streams from your live streaming app into Crowdcast, we take that stream and send it out in HD to places like YouTube and Facebook Live and Periscope and Twitch. So here's an example of how it works. And in this example, I'm going to use Ecamm Live. So when you go live, when you open up your event, you're going to see there's now 2 options for going live in your event. On the bottom, you get what you're used to and you're familiar with, which is the in-browser experience. Just like before, you can go live in there, connect your camera and mic to Crowdcast, and just start broadcasting. But now there's a new option at the top, right over here. This is RTMP Studio. This lets you connect with things like OBS, Wirecast, Ecamm Live, and many, many more. So when you click on that, you're going to be taken here where you can actually start the RTMP engine. And when you start that studio engine, you're going to get basically a stream key and a server URL. And you're just going to copy those things over to, in this case, Ecamm Live. And then you just hit the Go Live button. And what happens is that video stream gets sent from your application, in this case Ecamm Live, into Crowdcast. And we send that out in HD to the viewers in Crowdcast, as well as any other multi-streams you have set up. So now that you know what some of those superpowers are, I want to introduce you to 3 people who've helped us beta test RTMP Studio over the last couple of weeks. First, there's Brad. Brad teaches developers how to build an online business for freelancing. Here's Brad. Hello, Brad. How you doing?
I am doing well. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for joining us on air.
Totally.
I want to first ask you, and just so you can share with the audience, what sorts of events are you using Crowdcast for?
I do regular kind of sales webinars for my online courses, and I also do live workshops for my students within my courses. So I use Crowdcast for like a sales part of my business, and also a piece to kind of continue interaction with my students and add value that way.
That's awesome. You should definitely drop in a link to your profile in the Crowdcast chat so people can follow you, because you do some pretty epic events, and Brad really takes advantage of. I believe, Brad, you're using Ecamm or using OBS?
I'm using Ecamm. I actually had a few months ago I was chatting with you, and you brought up some of these tools like Ecamm, and so I just assumed at that point that Ecamm, when I looked into it, I thought, oh, this sounds amazing. I could do so much with this, and I thought I'm going to hook that into Crowdcast, and then I realized, oh, that's not actually integrated. So I kind of sent you a message or something in the live chat, and I thought, like, I need this because my wheels are turning and I have all these ideas of how I could use it with my Crowdcasts. And it's needless to say, it's been absolutely amazing.
Awesome. What are some of the features in Ecamm that you've been really appreciating?
I have loved, let's see, you mentioned the intro and outro screens. Mm-hmm. That's a nice little kind of bonus. I have sometimes when you start a live event, it takes a little bit, maybe 5 minutes even, for people to start rolling in. And sometimes they miss, an important piece of the live workshop or the webinar. And so I use that basically when the time starts, let's say 11 a.m., I will go live, but I'll have like a 3-minute or even a 5-minute countdown. And then I'll just have that kind of, it'll be branded and it will do a live countdown. And I will engage with people in the chat box to get as many people in there first before I go live. So I do that as well. The other thing that I really love using is, a lot of our webinars, and a lot of people here probably do the same, you do repetitive stuff in your webinars. You're saying the same things. You have a webinar, you have a presentation, and you do the same thing week after week or month after month, depending on how many times you do it. And I tend to be incredibly animated and use an abundance of my energy. So by the end of like a 75-minute webinar, I'm exhausted. Mm-hmm. So I thought, is there a way that I can make that easier on myself? So what I've been experimenting with is I will go live, but certain pieces that I want to be consistent and perfect. For example, let's say the pitch mm-hmm. of the product. You do all this teaching, and then you go into the pitch. I'm pretty good at presenting, and so I try and minimize my ums and ahs, but sometimes I'll forget, or by that point I'm tired, so my energy might be a bit lower. So what I've done is I've pre-filmed, pre-recorded, and prepped a pitch section of my course, so that when I get there, I literally just hit play, and it switches to my screen, and it's as if I'm live. I'm obviously still there interacting, but the pitch it's perfect. It's pitch perfect, I suppose you could say. And it doesn't allow for me to have any ums or ahs. Mm-hmm. It's consistent, and I've had time to rehearse it. So that's that for me has been a really nice piece of it. Or when I'm showcasing my course, instead of flipping around, trying to flip to my screen, and you see all my browser windows and all my tabs and maybe like an embarrassing document or something like that. And instead of having all that in the way, what I've done is I'll show a promo video for my course, and it's been pre-filmed with a nice camera and nice music in the background, and you can just say, check out, here's what it looks like in the background. And then you just get to play this, pre-recorded, well-rehearsed piece. And so it makes the entire live event way more engaging and interesting instead of just a webcam and streaming and ums and ahs. Yeah. So that for me is in a really big piece. And in general, another thing that I use is with Ecamm Live is you could do lower thirds and throw in images, and you can brand the entire thing. So when I'll teach a piece in an education piece. I teach for 5 minutes, and I'll jump in after I teach about that to check in and make sure if anyone has any questions, and then I'll pop up like a Facebook reactions. I'll animate them up, and then I have text that says, "You have any questions?" Throw them in the questions tab below, and it does a whole bunch of things like that where I'm able to integrate that, make the event really interesting instead of having to verbally prompt everyone every time. It just kind of happens, and so that's been really great for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, at the end of the day, we want to allow you to do very engaging and fun events, and I think you're demonstrating that really well. So
cool.
So Brad, yeah, thank you so much for coming up. I really appreciate it, and I'm sure everyone wants to check out some of your events, so definitely paste that into the chat.
Totally. Thank you. I definitely will.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming up. I'll see you soon.
Bye now.
Next, there's Ben. Ben has a show on Crowdcast called Teslanomics that covers all things Tesla. Here's Ben. Hey, Ben, how you doing?
Good, man. How are you?
Doing well. Well, thank you for coming on. Can you tell the audience a little bit about Teslanomics and why you got started?
Yeah, so, I have a YouTube channel where I decode the data behind Tesla, and I just kind of look at, all the different companies and ways that are changing our world. And one of the things that I started doing, maybe several months ago now, was a live stream on Mondays just to cover the latest news, because Tesla is always in the news and things are always changing, and being live kind of made sense because, well, things change so fast. So I didn't want to do it pre-recorded and have something change. So at this point, I use Crowdcast every Monday to do that live stream. And I, send out an email to my audience, have them jump in. And I really love the Q&A section. That's really become one of the most valuable things. And so, that's kind of my main use case right now, is from a Monday news show.
That's cool. And then how have you been using RTMP Studio? Like what software have you been combining it with?
Yeah, I use OBS. I'd been using that for a long time. I just learned about Ecamm, and I was trying to use that. I had some issues. I think my computer setup wasn't right. I'm probably going to switch to Ecamm sometime once I figure those kind of kinks out. But I've been using OBS to date, and I had everything already set up, so I've kind of went back to that until I can kind of work those other issues out. And it's been working great. I've been really impressed with the quality and everything.
That's cool. And are you using OBS to do like overlays, or is it more of a picture-in-picture thing?
Yeah, I do all of that. So like Ecamm, you have scenes, I think they're called, and in OBS you have the same thing. And so I have when I start out, I have an intro that plays with just music in the background until I see it streaming everywhere. Because I think, as Brad had mentioned, it's kind of weird how it there's a delay of when it starts and you never really quite know. So now use the intro, and then I switch to a full cam, just me like this. And then I go into a little picture-in-picture with some promo text. And then from time to time, I'll throw a video in there or something. But because I stream to YouTube, if I throw a video in there that was I recently did one with the Falcon Heavy launch, I showed that video. And instant, it was great. I loved it, but instantly my video got caught by a copyright thing because I couldn't play a David Bowie song. So, but it's fine. So when I have videos and things like that, I kind of mix them in there. So tools like OBS and Ecamm obviously just give you a much more sophisticated, or I guess more professional grade experience. And now combining that with Crowdcast, I'm pretty stoked. So.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, I'm super excited for your future events, and it was really cool to see you using RTMP Studio, and I really appreciate you just helping us test that out, because there was a lot of valuable feedback. Definitely post your link in the chat, because I think people want to check out your show and see all that in action.
Yeah, will do.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Ben, for coming up.
Cheers.
And finally, there's Janice. Janice teaches people how to do professional photography right on Crowdcast. Here's Janice.
Hi. My name is Janice Sullivan, and I own Sullivan J Photography. And one of the components to Sullivan J Photography is our membership program. Within that membership program for photographers, we have workshops. So it was an honor to be able to work with Crowdcast with the RTMP Studio. I use OBS for a show that I do live, Macro Chat Live show, and I knew OBS pretty well. So I really wanted to be able to use it for my workshops. The workshop I had was on flash strobes. and it was a perfect way for me to be able to use the RTMP Studio. Thank you for letting me share my behind the scenes. I'm crazy excited about RTMP Studio. It's going to make such a huge difference in the workshops that I'm giving to my members. I know you guys are going to like it. I absolutely love it.
Alright, so there you have it. Crowdcast now plugs directly into all sorts of live streaming software. You can now have overlays, you can share pre-recorded videos, you can plug Crowdcast into your professional gear, and a whole lot more, all in HD. Now, all of this is just the beginning. We're going to be continuing to improve both RTMP Studio and the in-browser experience. So let us know what you think in the chat, and always feel free to shoot us a message at support@crowdcast.io. My name is Sai, and I'll see you next time.